Hey guys, DSKxMonkey here, back again with another video. This will not be a regular video, however, as I will be talking about the current state of Rumble Fighter. Before we get started, let me start this video off with a question. Why do we still play Rumble Fighter? The reason is because of the sunk cost fallacy theory. What does this even mean though, you ask? Well, it's quite simple. It means we are continuing to invest resources into an activity or endeavor that is disappointing just because of the time or cost we already spent on it. The resources, in our case, are the countless Astros, campus credits, and Red Fox credits we have spent on this so-called free-to-play game. We have also spent countless years and or hours on the game to either grind for carrots or to improve. We have stayed in this community for so long and it has come to a point where the game just isn't improving. Although me and some others don't believe this game is improving, we stay. Another example of this would be when you go buy a ticket to watch a movie. The movie doesn't turn out as great as you thought and you want to leave, but you decide to stay since you already spent time and money on it. I hope that example gave you an idea on why we have not yet quit Rumble Fighter. In this video, I would like to discuss my opinions about Rumble Fighter. I will not just only bash the game as I think it's great, but I will have a lot of positive and negative feedback that deserves to be talked about, at least in my opinion. I might end up talking about the negative aspects of the game more than the positives, but that is to be expected as I will be judging the game's moderation and in-game aspects. With all the success my YouTube channel has achieved alongside the community that supports me, I would like to try to use my platform as a voice to reach countless others and hopefully improve the game we play. As you guys may or may not know, Rumble Fighter during its game's campus days was greenlit by Steam. Getting the green light from Steam meant that Rumble Fighter will be available to be played on their servers and provider. However, Rumble Fighter turned a new leaf and was brought to a new company called PlayRedFox, which we are currently on. As time continued, it was brought to our attention by GM Gordy a few months back that Rumble Fighter is still keeping contact with Steam. As stated by him, this means that Rumble Fighter Unleashed, along with some other games we host, does not need to go through the voting process. Thankfully, Rumble Fighter does not need to be voted on again and both companies will continue to work on getting it to Steam. But what does getting into Steam mean for Rumble Fighter? Well, for the most part, as seen from another old OG Planet game called Lost Saga, the population will increase. This in turn will also bring far better servers than the ones we currently play on and hopefully limit the amount of lag seen. This is a huge opportunity that has been given to the game we love and it cannot be wasted as it may be its last chance in my opinion. Now, with Steam in mind, I would like to talk about what Rumble Fighter needs to improve on if we truly want to take full advantage of this immense opportunity Steam has given us. First of all, we need more communication between the staff and the community when it comes to updates and how the updates are launched. There has been many instances where the community is excited about a new update but then is later let down once it is launched. A recent example of this would be the Halloween updates currently taking place. This is arguably one of the most important months that Rumble Fighter players wait on for updates. This is where they can get their cosmetic rare Halloween sets and play the iconic boss mode called Graveyard. What issues did they bring this time around, you may be wondering? Well, for starters, it was apparent on what a lot of the players wanted in terms of rare Halloween sets throughout the forums. There were constant discussions on what they wanted and their voices were not heard. The community instead got the Invisible Man and Skeleton Gentleman sets, which are some of the most recent Halloween sets released. These are not the ones most people want and are willing to spend money on. This update also brought many glitches when playing the boss mode PvE. I don't understand the point of taking down the server to update it for a couple of hours and not fully test the update itself. How can we expect Rumble Fighter to be taken seriously when every update brings a new glitch into the game? Like, come on now. This is something the game providers have to fix and shouldn't even be a constant and huge problem to begin with. I personally wouldn't mind waiting a couple of more hours for the game to launch their updates if it meant having it fully functional. This boss mode literally disconnected most of the players playing it before it got fixed. Speaking about glitches, besides the ones that come from every update, there are countless of them still needing to be fixed in game. How can the company tolerate potentially new clients staying if there are this many bugs? This brings in the feeling of playing an underdeveloped game that is still in closed beta. Not only is there disconnection glitches from pressing the info button on a player joining a room with a non-synchronized player, forcing you to freeze or disconnect when you leave, and in-game glitches ever be acceptable. By far, the best fix PlayRedFox has done was the removal of the first load issue. I have never ever heard about another game that had such an issue. We were literally forced to first load or even second load in practice and survival mode in order to load into a real game. If you didn't first or second load, you would probably be forced to disconnect and try again. This glitch, bug, issue, whatever you want to classify it as, was preposterous. It should have never been a problem to begin with. Anyways, continuing on with the communication and update issues, I do acknowledge that recently there has been a couple of events that involve the community. These events include the Scroll Design Contest, Exocore Design Contest, Plan a Tournament event, and a few countless others. This is a great start towards the improvement of communication between the players and moderators. This gives the community a chance to throw out their ideas on scrolls, exocores, sets, and even events that are actually wanted. A downfall from these, however, is that the community cannot vote on the particular scroll, exocore, or event that will be used, and instead all the suggestions will be sent to Mnemonics or PlayRedFox to decide on. My suggestion is to improve this is simple. Have mnemonics send the ones they feel good about with a small preview if possible and have the community vote on which ones get implemented. The voting system should not only be limited to the forums, however, and should also be put in the game. This in-game polling booth can possibly be put into the plaza as the plaza has no true meaning. This will help prevent bias from the forum community into picking their friends' suggestions and allow more of the population to vote on what they actually want. There will also be a limit to the voting, which would be one per account, and it doesn't matter whether you vote through the forums or in-game, you can only vote once. Alongside these update issues I mentioned comes the constant pay-to-win aspect. We are being bombarded with only pay-to-win content updates, which include boxes as well. This is one of the reasons why the Rumble Fighter Steam Greenlight page has so many negative feedback. The amount of non-carrot updates is also outrageous. Just look at how many boxes are being brought into the game. Back to back to back to back to back box updates and no new carrot items in sight. It has come to a point where one box update isn't enough and there has to be two separate boxes. For the past few months, it has been nothing but boxes and only pay to win content. This has to stop immediately. How are you going to promote this game as a free-to-play game when there is literally only in real-life currency items available to purchase from these new updates? I understand that Realm Fighter is a business and has to make money, but there has to be a mixture of carrot and RC content in every update. All that has to be done is to go back to the updates that another series provided. There was a carrot portion and an RC portion of the update which will actually keep the community happy. Those were a perfect idea that the providers have to get back on. During those few months, I was satisfied with the updates because they provided for free to play and pay to win content. If you think I'm lying about the whole pay to win concept updates, go to the forums right now and look at the past archives. Every single update as far as June have only included boxes and RC items, no carrot items in sight. Another good thing Rumble Fighter has currently implemented was the buffs and nerfs quality of life updates coming in. This is a great start towards balancing the game, but I do have my fair share of feedback. I know these type of updates are good for the game, but there cannot just be a list of scrolls and exocores changed. There also has to be a description of what exactly was changed so the community itself doesn't have to search through patch notes or experiment themselves. This is such an easy way to improve what you guys already started. I also suggest asking the community what they think about certain scrolls and exocores. For example, if this one scroll or exo needs a buff or a nerf. It's quite simple really. If there is a sufficient amount of votes to make the changes, then mnemonics should be advised and potentially get the suggestion implemented. The community plays the game. The providers provide and update it. It's only logical that the community has a say so in this type of department as we know what would be best to balance the game. Now that I have talked about communication being key and update methods having to change, I would like to go on with my second point. Rumble Fighter has very little objectives to strive for, and the players get punished way too severely. As someone who has played for many years, OG Planet at least gave the community some competitive events. This includes the most anticipated tournament of the year, the Rumble Fighter Rumble Royale. In this tournament, a number of the best guilds are allowed to participate in a 4 versus 4 combat in multiple different maps to test their skill. In Rumble Royale 1 and 2, the stat differentials between players was not as big as the Rumble Royale 3 had, and the current Planet Tournament Rumble Royale will have if it is chosen. This was evident as in Rumble Royale 3, where Raven won, they had arguably the best stats and rares in the game at the time. It was an unfair pay-to-win advantage as well as abusing the HP potion usage. The abuse consisted of glitching 2 big HP potions and the use of a rare that nobody truly kept around anymore, called the rice cake. There was even a thread made consisting of all the calculations of how much damage they healed against low mind games during their match. If it weren't for the massive HP potion advantage and stats Raven had compared to their opponents, they would have lost. Despite the huge disadvantage in stats, low mind game had the superior skill and would have won if it wasn't for the HP potion abuse. In no means am I shaming Raven for winning. On the contrary, congratulations once again for being the Rumble Royale 3 champions. I'm only using this particular fight and tournament to express the pay to win aspect of the tournament. A tournament should focus on showing skill, not an unfair advantage due to some investing more money on stats and rares than others. The Plan a Tournament event currently ongoing, we as a community can actually make a semi-decent balanced Rumble Royale. Some argued that this is complaining and that the stats are part of the game, and you're right in both cases. Why would people not complain on this topic though? It's a huge issue. Why do you guys think that the Guild War rules in-game made by the players consists of 40 below stats? It's because people can actually make a 40 below stat set fairly easily without having to spend too much money out of their pocket. This is what others would call a compromise. Yes, stats are part of the game, and if you truly want to use them, fine, but set a limit on how high stats can go when it involves tournaments. There also has to be a definite and permanent ban on Avalon drivers if there is going to be a tournament, period. Avalons brought an even wider stat differential and can be made nearly to one-hit KO your opponent with particular exocores. In no sense of the word does having huge stats and outrageous Avalons considered skillful. The truly ideal skillful tournament between guilds in a 4 versus 4 format would be no stats and some exocore limitations. If exocores will be used, this should be decided by the community as a whole once again, not just by an event thread and limitations the GM placed on that thread. This is something you as PlayRedFox will be hosting. There is no need to cripple the tournament process with forced upon minimum rules. Even with these limitations, the community suggestion of a Rumble Royale can be simply put to a 40 below event. The only problem, the person who made the suggestion will not edit it as to be fair and competitive as possible. They rather have it their way with as much Avalon and stat usage as possible to increase their odds of winning rares. My suggestion for a competitive 4 versus 4 Guild War tournament does not have to be used, but you have to keep a balanced system in mind if there will ever be some competitive mode or event in this game. If you recall, when I mentioned the players get punished way too severely, I meant, for one, that whenever the player dies in terms of edge, it's all over. The player is forced to wait until the round is over in order to play once again. I remember back in OG Planet, a formerly known forumer got asked by a developer in an event he went to asking what game he was playing. He mentioned Rumble Fighter, and so the game developer asked some questions about it. In the series of questions, there was a point where the game developer said it was a good game. Too bad it has that specific mechanic which ruins its potential. I agree with that statement. I've played Rumble Fighter Japan. In the Japanese version, when you play Moon and Glacier and get edged, you get damaged and then revived. Playing there was the most fun I've had in a while, as the only way to stop playing was through getting HP killed. There are so many big title games out there with respawn mechanics. Why is Rumble Fighter without one? It's obvious that a respawn system keeps the community happy as they have more time to play. It's a whole different way of playing, and this method would definitely improve the skill base of the game as it's not just dependent on edging. It was an awesome idea in Japan, but if it's brought to NA, which is a more established community, then the stats and exocore usage dependencies might escalate, which could be a negative aspect towards having this mode. But regardless, what I recommend is to bring this mechanic to the NA servers as an option for players to play. It shouldn't be too difficult to put a separate moon and glacier map with this respawning mechanic. We have examples of using multiple of the same maps in the game like Dulce and Risky with the retextured maps and the regular Moon and King of the Hill Moonlight. The King of the Hill Moonlight Valley even has a respawn system, so there is no excuse that there is no way that can make this possible. This game also needs a ranked competitive system for those who want to improve and face stronger opponents besides only in tournaments. I do acknowledge, however, that PlayRedFox did try to make a competitive mode by bringing the sudden death event back. This is a good start as it involves multiple matches in a 1v1 scenario with multiple different participants for a set amount of time. The only issue with this, which is my third point, is that there is no enforcement when it comes to breaking the rules. The sudden death event literally had to be cancelled because of the constant abuse of glitches and DDoS attacks being used against the participants. A few bad apples are to blame for this, and PlayRedFox has to take care of these guys. PlayRedFox has its job made out for them actually when it comes to this issue. The constant egos and multiple YouTube videos exposing themselves of hacking, DDoSing, and abusing glitches are all here. This makes me believe that the moderators are turning a blind eye when it comes to dealing with rule breakers. Why is it that there is no enforcement, no bans, no rules set in place actually, and nothing being done against exploiters? It's not my job to report these guys, nor call them out in specific, and me just talking about it puts myself at risk too. There should never be a point where the consumer feels threatened when playing a game you're providing. This is one of the most horrible things the current providers have done. It's absolutely disgusting that nothing is being done. Fix your servers to prevent these type of issues because for the most part it happens due to their ability to get the opponent's information by playing your game, not outside third parties for the most part. The only rules provided for the game are the forum rules. There has to be a set of rules and punishments for those who break rules in game as well. Every company does this. Why not play Red Fox? I know you guys banned some people during the first weeks of the game being in your hands, but it has to be a constant thing. Nobody who breaks the rules here feels like they're going to be banned, which is why they continue getting away with it. All I ask for is stricter moderation and enforcement of the rules. And in no shape or form will this deter rule breaking from happening, but it has to be made clear it will not be tolerated. Another thing I meant by the players get punished way too severely is how the game is run in general in the North America and European scene. Why is it that the NA/EU Rumble Fighter versions are outclassed by Rumble Fighter Japan and Gem Fighter? In Japan, there's not only the revival modes permanently implemented, but you can test out things in the training mode before buying them. Why is having the ability to test grills and exocores before purchasing them such a huge taboo? Is it just because of greed wanting players to be forced to buy more RC after buying something they didn't like? This is ethically wrong in my opinion and is something that should be put in place in the NA/EU scene. In Gemfighter, most of the items that come with their updates stay in the store permanently. Not only can they buy rare items from the past, but they have many items we have as rares or RC as carrot items in the store. Why is it that NA/EU Rumble Fighter scene look like the weakest Rumble Fighter version out there? Why is it that the North America and European scene, which are the most populated, are the most deprived as well? These are some questions the players of the Rumble Fighter community should have in their minds. Our community is just being abused for corporate greed, it seems. My fourth point has to do with events. The events being brought to the community as of late have been meaningless. There is no true reason to participate in them, as the effort needed to do them does not give the player something that is worth their time. Although not every event is pointless, as I have already discussed some of the great events they have done, many are. For example, with the newly released Rumble Dojo map, why would anyone want to play this map for 20 sets to get a lucky box, 50 sets for a timed random scroll, and or 100 sets for just one single event rare box? The effort and time put into these sets does not match what you will receive. I'm not saying give people perms all the time, but at least make the prizes reasonable towards the time you have to put into it. An example of something that is semi alright in terms of time and prize distribution is the Round and Round We Go event. It has the exact same prizes as the Dojo event, but this applies to every single battle and rumble mode map. Although I think it's unnecessary to limit how many sets you can do per day, the prizes are fine, as we would be playing these modes regardless. We can play the maps we want and get a random prize in the end if we reach the requirements. The prizes might not be great, but it's fine in this instance. All I'm saying by better events is that the prizes have to reflect the time being put into them. Another example of a semi-bad one is the daily login prizes. I know the point of this is to get free prizes just for playing daily at certain hours, and I'm being pretty ungrateful here, but why would I want most of these items anyways? There are no useful perms. The best prizes from the daily login events are the boxes where you probably won't even get a perm regardless. I'm not saying put a perm scroll on Exocore every day, because that defeats the purpose of buying RC and building the carrot economy, but come on, Angel Wings, an Eye of Critical Damage, Spike Nades, Extra Panics, we literally get all these items on a daily basis without having to do the login event. We even get the chance to get these timed scrolls and exocores as well. There has to be at least something worth the time to log in for a few minutes. This way we get something we actually wanted and then play longer because of it, than just logging in to get a prize. It's fine if you keep the login event. It's whatever. But try to have events that give a good prize to participate in. OG Planet gave countless great events that the community wanted, like rares and other items. Although many people wouldn't want rares to resurface so frequently, rares give a good incentive since they're not available in the store. Rares, in my opinion, also mean nothing for the most part. Why do you think Gemfighter has them in store and the North American and European scene does not? Think about it. Speaking about the login event, if the goal is to give players an incentive to play more, which in turn generate more revenue in the future, why not bring the level up gem system back? The Japanese version has them, and this truly gives the player base a go as well. These gems will also give meaning to one's level. In Rumble Fighter, the only thing level matters is for Nambu, Android class, and Saber or Assassin, nothing else. By bringing this old gemstone system that worked, people can have a healthy competition towards being in the top 10 highest levels in the game. Since some people have already capped at level 99, whoever got level 99 first deserves the crown icon. I also recommend bringing a system where if the top 10 players aren't inactive for a given amount of time, their top 10 gem ranking will be removed. By inactivity, I mean playing the actual game, not simply logging in so their rank doesn't get removed. This way, whoever's at the top and wishes to stay at the top will be forced to play, if not lose their precious cosmetic gem rank. Seems pretty fair, doesn't it? I personally wouldn't even mind resetting everyone back to level 1 in order to truly have a competition for top 10 levels, although I know many would disagree with that opinion, and I do know that everybody would love the gem level system back in place. Even if you're not in the top 10 rankings, just having that white gem gave you a sense of accomplishment and prestige amongst the people playing the game back in the day. In conclusion, there are so many topics I did not mention throughout this video that are as equally important. The topics I did choose to talk about, however, are the ones I believe we need in order to improve the game if it's ever going to be on Steam. Even if it doesn't reach Steam, we need them in place right now. I hope I have opened a healthy discussion on these issues, and I'm eager to see what you guys think. Don't forget to comment your thoughts, 90 that like button, or dislike my video and tell me what you didn't agree with. My goal is to help the game improve, which is why I may be a bit tough on certain topics. Also, before I say goodbye, that toxicity isn't a problem. Every game has a huge toxic community. Deal with it. Goodbye.